I am very invested in not just Disney today, but Disney long term, well beyond my tenure as CEO. And one of the things that I think any CEO needs to do is not just manage a business successfully in the moment or for the quarter or the year or the tenure, but to manage the business for success long term. And among the decisions that we've made collectively as a management team was to invest in China and to not just plant seeds, but to plant big trees that will hopefully fuel enormous growth for the company long term, well beyond my tenure. So it means a lot to me because when I think about carrying out my responsibilities, partially my legacy, Shanghai Disneyland looms large. China looms large.
And I know you've talked a lot about things at that park and resort that are unique to China. What are some examples of that?
Well, we've talked about, in my charge actually to the team of great Imagineers who are designing and building this, is let's make it authentically Disney but distinctly Chinese, those words. Authentically Disney because we're bringing a Disneyland park to China, and our strong instinct and the research that we've done supports this, is that people want a Disney experience. But we also know, like any other place in the world, there are cultural interests and tastes and cultural pride, and it is essential for this park, in order for it to succeed, to reflect the tastes and the culture of China. So there are numerous elements of the park that will do that. We have not been specific about them because other than mentioning a couple of attractions, we've said very little about what will be in the park. But I will give you one example. In all of our parks, there's a significant amount of entertainment. Most of that is in the form of shows, typically take place indoors or in front of castles or under fireworks. The creators of the shows for Shanghai Disneyland, those that are not just conceiving the shows but choreographing them and directing them, were largely Chinese. And the performers will mostly be Chinese. So there will be a very, very strong Chinese element throughout the entertainment in these parks. One example. Another is use of language. Now, it would be easy to say, well, everything will be in Mandarin. But what we're doing here is we're starting in Mandarin. So all of the storytelling, all of the navigation and wayfinding, all of the menus, any of the language and nomenclature that goes into this park will start in Mandarin and be translated into English instead of starting in English and translating into Mandarin. That's just another example of our approach here.
So you've been busy with Shanghai. You recently acquired a company called Maker Studios. Tell us about that purchase, why Disney wanted to acquire Maker.
Well, since we're talking international, 70% of Maker's traffic comes from outside the United States. And we have not only a great desire, but a great need as a company to continue to grow outside the United States. We have been extremely aware of and impressed with huge growth in media digitally, in particular short-form media. And Maker's done a great job. They're the number one supplier of short-form videos to YouTube, as a for instance, of not only identifying creators of short-form video, but distributing it very, very effectively and using algorithms and usage data to enhance distribution and consumption. It's bringing that kind of expertise into our company when the world is changing so rapidly right before our eyes in terms of media creation, media distribution, media consumption, we thought was very interesting and attractive.
And I did notice that your chief financial officer, Jay Rizzullo, that the Maker team will report to him. How come?
Well, there are a couple of reasons for that, not to get into too many details, but in this case, this is the case with certain other acquisitions, there's an earn-out, and because there's an earn-out, meaning the sellers have an opportunity to earn more money in success, I wanted to keep it close to home in the company and be careful that it was being managed in a way that could potentially maximize the ability for the acquisition to succeed in that regard for the benefit of those that sold it to us. I also believe because it didn't fit neatly into one bucket, but it's going to actually require a very, very cross-divisional, cross-intellectual property approach at the Walt Disney Company, that there was benefit to keeping it out of one business and essentially using Jay Rizzullo, who's our CFO, to facilitate not just the integration of the acquisition or of the asset into the company, but to facilitate it being successful.
Since we last spoke, it was announced that and Sweeney, one of your longtime executives, would be leaving the company next year early on. That got everybody talking once again about the issue of succession at Disney. What can you tell us about that process of looking towards your successor?
It is a popular question, isn't it?
It is very much
Would
so.
I create some trouble? The only thing I can say is the board's been engaged in a very, very active and aggressive succession process. Interestingly enough, before the decision was made about me, before I made the decision, so that we've been developing people and discussing people and talking about a variety of different things, including what attributes the CEO of the Walt Disney Company should have. And they have been observing people very closely, and I'm very confident that our board will make a decision that is not only the right decision to make for the company long term, but it will be made on a timely enough basis to create a very smooth transition.
And is there any possibility at all that you could remain as CEO beyond the June 2016 timeframe that you shared?
It's not in my plans at this point, so that's all I'm going to say.
Disney is a company that is very focused on diversity. Right now in Los Angeles, everybody's talking about Donald Sterling, the Los Angeles Clippers. You're a Clippers fan. What was your reaction to the story that is now being covered in a big way, especially through ESPN, which is a Disney property?
I was appalled, frankly. We live in a world where I believe that there's no room whatsoever for racial intolerance or discrimination or racism. Not at all. Whether you're a public figure or not, whether you're in a business or whether you're, in the public sector, there's just no room for it. And I know that there are questions as to the validity of the recording. I listened to the recording. My take is that it was Donald Sterling, and my belief is that it's something that shouldn't be tolerated. And not only should very harsh action be taken, but needs to be taken very swiftly. But I also believe the NBA will do that. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't have any insights there, but I have a strong sense they'll do the right thing here. I think they have to, for the good of their sport, for the players in particular, and for the fans.
I mean, Magic Johnson said he wouldn't go to any more Clippers games as long as Donald Sterling is the owner. As a Clippers fan, will you continue to go to games? Or
here's my feeling on this. I think that the players are playing for themselves, their families, friends, and the fans. That's who they're playing for. Have I thought about it? Yes. I want to go to support the coach, who I really think is a great coach, and those players that are out there on the court. As long as they're playing, I am there for them. That's my feeling.